I think it's easy for people who are empathic to feel like it's your obligation to be support for everybody and to like just kind of be an open net for everything. And so I do think that in that sense it can help kind of take the intensity down to a,
Six.
a 6 or
Six.
whatever it
We
is.
want 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, plant people. Hello, my herbal friends. How are you? I hope you're doing okay. I know right now everything's a little crazy and it seems a little out of control. And I hope that you're taking care of yourself. I hope that you're able to find connection, find a community, talk with people. It's so important right now that we get to do that. I know for myself, this podcast, this vodcast, whatever we're calling it at this point, it means so much to me. Being able to sit down with beautiful people every week who are doing beautiful work and truly inspiring me to do better. And I hope that you're getting that as well out of this. Because it's so important right now. There's more that unites us than divides us, and we have to remember that, and that we need to reach out and talk with people and have conversations. Because at the end of the day, we're all just human, and we're trying to do our best. And I hope that that's happening for you, and I hope that this little show helps as well. So I appreciate it very much, you being here. My name is Tommy Navarre. I am the host of Everything You Did Not Know About Herbalism here on Herbal Radio, and it is brought to you by one of the greatest, no, hold on. It is the greatest company for botanical goodness on the planet. And also, what an amazing company for me. I get to come in here every day and hang out with people who are just wonderful, and they make me laugh, and they make me feel like I belong, and it's so important. And that's also all of you as well. So I really appreciate it. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this. So today I get to hang out with Brynna Herbener. She is an up and coming star in herbalism. I had such a fantastic conversation. So we're going to talk about neurodivergent. There we go. The neurodivergency in herbalism, and how plants can help you through that. Now, myself, I have dyslexia. It was late diagnosis, and or later in life. I was in college, and it's something that I struggled with for a long time, and it really made me feel as if I wasn't intelligent. There was something going on. But finding out that I had that, it really changed my life, and it made me feel like, oh, this isn't my fault. So we talk about that, and we talk about her struggles as well, and how she's able to overcome that, and how herbalism has really changed her life in that. And I hope that you get to understand a little bit more about the condition, and about what we can do to help ourselves with that. So as always, we also would love to hear your comments. Please leave us a comment. Let us know something that you would like to hear about on Herbal Radio. And yeah, we love you. Hang in there. It's going to get better. Okay. You're not alone. I promise you, you are not alone. So please, everyone, just stay safe. Yeah, here's my conversation with Brynna Herbener.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for reaching out. It was really an honor. This is one of the first podcasts and resources that I started, or that I found when I started getting into herbalism.
Oh, fantastic.
So really exciting for me.
How long ago was that?
Oh gosh. I went to herb school for the first time in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But I was listening to podcasts like this for, I don't know, maybe a year or two before that. Yeah, I feel like it was a bit of a circuitous path that led to herbalism. But I also, was fortunate enough to grow up with, like, not herbalism necessarily, but kind of adjacent things like gardening and
Mhm.
local farms and things.
And
Those were
where was this at? Where did you grow up?
oh yeah, I grew up in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is where I still live
Ah,
today.
okay. I don't know a
Hmm.
lot about Fort Collins. I Have I been to
Yeah,
Fort Collins? I don't think I've been to Fort Collins.
it's a college town
Mhm.
at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains.
Okay.
About an hour north of Denver,
Hmm.
and um, yeah,
Sounds amazing up there. I
yeah, yeah, it's nice. I moved away for a year. I lived in Denver, and then just like had to move back.
I've been to Boulder, so I'm assuming that it's somewhat like Boulder then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to Boulder. A slightly different vibe, but kind of different.
And what about plants there? What about the ecology? Is it
So we're a desert
Yeah.
region, but it's not like Red Rock Desert
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
But there's, lots of pines and cacti and like there's some wetland areas, so we have some things like cattails and um let's see, lots of aspen
You have
trees.
Rocky Mountain junipers there as well?
Hmm.
Yeah. I love that
Yeah,
tree. It's one of my favorite trees on the planet.
yeah,
Yeah. Also
yeah.
and ponderosa pine, I'm assuming there as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, those are
Yeah,
two of my
I
favorite.
love ponder.
They're just two of my favorite. But those Rocky Mountain junipers that are up in the Rockies when they get like so
Mhm.
stunted and they're so gnarly and
Yeah.
you can, you're looking at them and you can literally it's like a history map of like what has happened and it shows so much struggle and so much perseverance.
Mm,
I can
yeah.
just sit in front of one of those trees for hours and just look at them. They're just they I don't know, they're so zen for me. So,
Mm,
yeah.
so cool. Yeah, I feel like a lot of plants here are they have that kind of, they're very hardy,
Well, they have to
kind of
be, right?
scrubby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to be because I mean, we're talking because I'm assuming there's not a lot of rain, right? It's
No, I mean, we've been having a fairly wet
Mhm.
spring, but yeah, relatively so. It's not a lot of moisture here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So you were around plants. You had your garden, obviously, and
Yeah, well, my mom was she loved gardening, and she was also really passionate about um food and kind of supporting like local farms
mm,
and CSAs and she loved to cook. And so I just feel like so many of my childhood memories revolve around plants and food
mhm,
and vegetables
mhm.
and um, yeah. So, like I said, I didn't come to herbalism right away, but looking back, it makes a lot of
Right,
sense.
there's a
There
connection there.
were
Right,
lines.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I actually, when I went to college, I started out in theater
Mhm.
and then did that for a little bit, but then I switched to fashion design.
Oh,
And
that's super
yeah,
fun.
that's another one of my biggest passions is fashion design and personal style and clothes. And um, so I did that for a couple years, and then I ended up dropping out to go to herb school
Ah.
in Fort Collins. So,
So what was
so
that? What was that if you don't mind me asking, what was,
mhm,
that decision-making process? You're in school, you're
mhm,
studying something that you're obviously very passionate about, and then you
mhm.
discover herbalism, and you literally walk away from that passion to study herbalism?
Yeah, I don't really have another word. It feels a little cheesy to say, but it really felt like a calling. Like I felt like I couldn't
I think
say
that's
no.
no, I think that's absolutely I hear that so often on this podcast.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
does feel like that the people that I interview, it's a calling for them, that they
Yeah.
were born to be herbalist.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it feels. Um I had a memory recently. Have you ever seen the movie Kiki's Delivery Service? It's a Miyazaki.
I have not.
Oh my gosh,
I got to write that down.
it's
I'm going to
it's one of my favorite
I got to
movies.
write this down. Okay. No, I have not. I have not seen it.
So it's about this witch. She's like a witch in training, and
Mhm.
she like witches all have to go off and like live a year away from home
Mhm.
and get like real world experience or whatever. And so her mom is this experienced witch, and there's a scene in the movie where her mom is like making herbal remedies at her home, and people are coming and picking up their potions and things. And I remember feeling so drawn to that as a kid. I was like, this is what I am. I didn't have any knowledge. I didn't know that that was a real thing that
Mhm.
you could do or be. So, until much, much later. But yeah, I've been thinking about that memory a lot lately.
And that was it. Did it feel like magic to you?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a fantasy
Right. And then
world.
all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my god, that actually exists. This
Hmm.
thing that you saw in this movie, that's an actual thing." Right.
Yeah, yeah. I was really lucky. One of my friends in middle school, her mom is an herbalist and ran the school, or still runs the school
Mhm.
that I went to for my first year of herb school.
What's the name of that school?
It's called Equinox Center of Herbal Studies,
Okay.
and it's in Fort
Oh,
Collins.
cool.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and so that was also a pretty early exposure to it as well. And it's funny, I didn't really think of it as something that I could do until later when I was in college,
Mhm.
and I was working on a farm at the time and just getting more and more into herbalism. And yeah, and then I just hit this point where I was like, I have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it got into your blood, right? It's just like
Hmm. Yeah.
it's like literally living inside you. And it's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, the plants have that calling." That's
Yeah.
it's pretty, again, the number of people that I've spoken to on this podcast, and they all have that same story where it
Hmm.
just kind of starts out small, and then all of a sudden they are so into it, there's no going back. You're
Yeah.
just so immersed, and there's just no going back.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
what was some of the plants that you were studying in the beginning? Like, what was something that you were, like, really excited about?
Mm, well, before I even was thinking about going to herb school, I think the herb that's been with me the longest is rose.
Mm.
Yeah.
God, how can you not love rose?
Yeah.
It's the I mean, it has everything, right? I always think about the rose as having it's so beautiful, and yet
Hmm.
it has its prickly side, you know?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's it doesn't wanna be messed with, right? It's like, "I'm gonna be
Hmm.
beautiful, but don't mess with me."
Yeah.
And I love that about it. It's got an attitude, right? But also the
Yeah.
medicinal purpose, all the medicinal, reasons for taking the rose. It's just incredible. It's just an incredible plant
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah. I when I was so my mom died when I was younger, when I
Mhm,
was about 11,
mhm,
and um I started, this friend of mine, her mom, I started coming to her for herbs to kind of work through that grief, and Rose was just an incredible ally
mm,
for
mhm.
that time in my life, and has just kind of continued to, you know, keep teaching me new things
Yeah.
and showing up in, kind of, it's an herb that I keep returning to.
Mhm.
And I feel like I don't know, even when I make tea blends, I feel like it's really hard for me to not put rose in a tea blend or
Well, it's your ally,
or a
right?
tincture.
That's your herbal ally. We talk about that a
Yeah.
lot. And that is, and I think everybody has their herbal
Mhm.
ally that they always keep so
Yeah.
close by, right?
Mm.
And that one's yours. And I feel like that's the perfect plant really to have close to you.
Mhm.
in so many
Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what else were you like? Did the rose lead you to other plants?
Another ally that feels strong for me and that feels like um, melds really nicely with rose is Damiana.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually an herb that I've found really helpful. I think I didn't realize it at the time, but I think for my neurodivergence,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Damiana is really helpful for helping me just kind of drop into my body,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I'm having like anxiety or racing thoughts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a grounding
Mm-hmm.
herb
Yeah.
that helps you feel, or has helped me feel really a lot more safety in my body. I think being so sensitive to things, it's hard to ground like that
Sure.
uh,
Sure.
all the time. So yeah,
Can
Damiana.
I ask you some questions about your neural divergence? Is a condition?
Mhm.
Is it okay to call it a condition? I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you know, I'm I'm still learning a lot, but it's not. Like things like autism and ADHD. They're not
Right.
diseases to
Right.
be cured. They're just how your brain.
Right.
They're just like natural functions
Yeah.
or natural ways that your brain and nervous system function.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think condition is a. I think that's a good term.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Just want to make sure that labeling it
Yeah.
correctly and not, I don't want to obviously offend anyone. But when was that diagnosed with you?
That was about. I think it's been 9 or 10-ish months now.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
And did it make sense when it has? So when I was in
Yeah.
college, um, it wasn't until maybe my junior year that I had an advisor who said, "Hey, I think you need to go get tested for dyslexia."
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
okay, and it surprised me. And then when I did, they were like, "Yeah, you have dyslexia," and I was like, "Oh my god, this makes complete and total sense now of why
Yeah.
I struggled so hard for so long with
Mhm.
reading and with writing and with just the way that I would communicate. It made so much sense, and once it
Yeah.
did, I was like, "Oh, I can now be myself in the world." That's how I felt. I was like, "Oh, I can
Mhm.
truly be myself now." Um,
Yeah.
and was that kind of the case for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of wild to me how these things can go unseen and undiagnosed for so
Mhm.
long. You said it was in college
Yeah.
that you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a similar thing for me. Actually, um, like social media
Mhm.
is the reason that I got a diagnosis.
Mm.
The algorithm knew before I did. I started getting all these.
Yeah. It's like Google knows you're pregnant before people, that you're
Yeah.
pregnant kind of a thing. Like, I've heard that before. It's like,
Mhm.
of course, Google knows that you have, ADHD or something like that
Yeah.
before you do. It's yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah. I started getting all this content around autism and ADHD,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a gray area about like self-diagnosing
Mhm.
because of that. But after it happened, like 50 to 100 times where I was like, "Oh, I relate to this
Mhm.
and I do this thing," and after that happened
Yeah.
so
Right.
often, I was like, "Okay, maybe I should get a proper diagnosis."
Yeah.
And kind of a similar thing happened where it's I mean, still, I just continue to have all these moments where it makes the rest of my life makes so much
Yeah.
sense. And
Yeah.
I'm like, how did no one realize that this was
I had the
happening?
same thing. I
You
was like,
know?
how did my high school teachers not realize
Mhm.
that, I had dyslexia?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
especially then when I was going to school, you were still, it wasn't there was obviously there were computers but we didn't have the internet really until I
Yeah.
maybe like a senior in high school or something. But so everything you turn in papers, you just wrote them out. And then and the
Mm,
way that I
mhm.
would write, it had to be clear to someone that I had
Yeah.
dyslexia, but instead
Yeah.
I was always made to feel that I was just not intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was so hard on me. And but then
Mhm,
I was good at taking, standardized testing. I would
mhm,
score, out like, I was in the talented and gifted classes when I was in,
mhm.
younger, and yet
Yeah.
my grades were horrible. How
Mhm.
did they not figure
Yeah.
that out for me? And
Yeah.
so I get that. Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
your point to, like, how did they not see this?
Totally. Yeah, I think what you're describing is really common for a lot of neurodivergent people,
Mhm.
having like getting recognized for having high intelligence, but then also being made to feel like you're not intelligent or something's wrong with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Like, I think those are really, really
And it
common.
still happens, by the way.
Mhm.
I'll
Totally.
still write something out or, misspell something. I tell everybody on my team, "Look, do not let me proof anything." It's never
Yeah.
like, I can proof for the content, I can proof for grammar, I can
Mhm.
proof for but don't let me proof for, like, words misspelled or something like that. It's just never gonna
Yeah.
happen. But I still get that sometimes, like, there'll be something misspelled and people will point it out, and it almost like a "How did you misspell that?" sort of way.
Mm.
And it kind of triggering, right? It kinda
Yeah.
takes you back to that it takes me back to being, younger and in school and, being, uh, denigrated or whatever by my
Mm.
teachers for not being able to spell something, correctly. As if spelling is that's the
Yeah.
it must be the highest level. As long as you can spell, everything else is good, right? But that was just
Yeah.
but I get that. It's like, wow, how did again, like, you gotta be really, really careful in your judgment of others.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, this is a bit of a segue, but I think, it's important to talk about, what's called masking
Mhm.
when we talk about
Mhm.
neurodivergence, which I think was happening for me. I think I'm masked pretty highly, and that's a big part of why a lot of people didn't catch it or thought it was something else, or
How
I
were
don't.
you doing that? What were your, techniques to masking? Like, what were you doing?
That's an interesting question. I think, um so for anyone who doesn't know, masking is just, like, intentionally hiding or covering up your signs of neurodivergence so that it's less visible
Mhm.
to other people. Um, I think a lot of it was, for me, has been pushing through really intense overwhelm and burnout. I would watch my peers, like, in school, be able to handle, like, a job, multiple
Mhm.
jobs, their entire schoolwork, and then still have, like, a social life and extracurriculars and things, and I think I compared myself
Yeah.
to that pretty
Yeah.
intensely because if I just go based off of my kind of natural how my nervous system just naturally is, like, I couldn't even really handle the school part
Mhm.
of it. It
Mhm.
was so overwhelming, and yeah, so I think I hid a lot of the overwhelm and the burnout
Mhm.
that I have felt
Mhm.
with those things. I've had lots of meltdowns and lots of, um, yeah, I think I felt a lot of shame around those things and a
Yeah.
lot of what's wrong with me that I can't keep up with all these things
Right.
that
Right.
people around me seem to just be able to do
Mhm.
and be fine.
Mhm.
And, I think this is a part of at least American culture too, where being tired and burnt out and overwhelmed and like overscheduling yourself is just kind of a norm that we have in our
No,
culture.
it is.
And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. You
Yeah.
see that. You hear all these in those humble brags that people do where they're like, I work 70 hours a week.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Fantastic, but that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably
Are
not doing
you
yourself any good other than maybe your bank account, maybe, but even then you're
Mhm.
probably not getting paid what you should be paid. So, you know,
Totally.
so
Yeah.
yeah, but I get that. I understand. And I think masking is you use the term masking. I've always referred to that as acting. Like we all have to be
Mm,
really good
sure.
actors, right?
Yeah.
And you're ready to
Yeah.
go into a scene. And I do that quite often now. I'm just like, oh, I've got to go into this meeting or I have to go into this event and I
Mhm.
have to be an actor. And this is the role that I'm playing. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
that super
Mhm.
enthusiastic person who,
Mhm.
you know, g- engages with everyone. And it's just like my feet is in concrete sometimes, and just being able to
Mhm.
take that step in, and it's like, oh God, this
Mhm.
is going to be so hard. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
have to do it because society has put this, it's normal. That's your norm, right? You got to be that way.
Mhm.
That's what everybody expects. And if you're not, then what's wrong with you? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah,
So
exactly.
did you start finding herbs to be helpful with that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I think, a lot of the herbs that I've just always found helpful for me or really, you know, jive well with me are herbs that I'm now finding are helpful for a lot of
Mm.
people,
Mhm.
who are neurodivergent.
Mhm.
So I think, there was just kind of, um, like I was already engaging with a lot of these
And was
herbs.
this through your own, like, just, sort of, experimentation with herbs? And then there was like, "Oh, I'm feeling this certain type of way because I take this herb," or that is it were you doing some sort of studies like, "I have these symptoms, and this is what I want to try to, mitigate," or something? Was that
Mm.
the approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of these, a lot of the ways that, kind of the stress of being neurodivergent shows up for me, is in anxiety
Yeah.
and depression and these kind of nervous system,
Yeah.
symptoms.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's the best word for it, but, and so
I know, again, that kinda
yeah.
goes back to disease, and that's not maybe not necessarily the best, word, but yeah.
Yeah. It's like a secondary thing. I think previously I thought that it was those were the primary things that
Mhm.
I was dealing with was like high anxiety and
Yeah.
depression
Yeah.
stuff. But I think now I think that those are secondary to the like ADHD and autism. But yeah, throughout my herbal journey, like in herb school and working as an herbalist and making things for myself, I feel like nervines and
Mhm.
aphrodisiacs actually also really work well for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I tend to just keep coming back to like milky oats and oat straw
Mm.
and rose and
Yeah.
hawthorn and reishi I take a lot of, and pasque flower and lemon balm, like all these
Mhm.
nervous system support herbs
Yeah.
are, kind of my major allies. Um, but I did want to talk about aphrodisiacs,
Yeah, I'm curious with
specifically with,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Obviously,
Um,
we don't think about that. I mean, I guess sort of it can act on the brain, to
mhm,
stimulate, right? I mean, that's the whole
mhm.
idea of it. So, but yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. So this is just, I haven't seen or read or heard other people talking about this. Although there might be other people out there who are thinking this as well. But something that I've noticed, just in the research that I've done and noticing how herbs affect me,
Mhm.
um, I think that aphrodisiacs might be a really supportive kind of um, category of herbs for neurodivergent
Mm.
folks. my theory is that a lot of them have this kind of simultaneous stimulating and relaxing effect
Mm-hmm.
on the nervous
Mm-hmm.
system. This is kind of a framework of thinking of how my nervous system functions that's really been helpful for me,
Mm-hmm.
is to, rather than like just relax my nervous system all the time,
Mm-hmm.
is to focus on finding a balance between hyper and hypo
Mm-hmm.
arousal.
Yeah.
And I think aphrodisiacs, there's so many herbs that have that kind of, in that category, that do that dual relaxing and stimulating effect.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense. I mean, obviously you think of aphrodisiacs and sex drive and that sort of thing, but
Mhm.
you need to feel a certain way. Like you need to be relaxed and you need to be
Mhm.
stimulated, right? In order for that to be, for that to kick in. And it makes total sense that's you would also want that with neurodivergence as well.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of the plants that you're taking that are aphrodisiacs that you're, speaking to?
Yeah, so I've been kind of switching up my herbal formulas that I take. I kind of will like make myself a 2-ounce tincture
Mhm.
of a blend, put something together and then take it until it's done and then maybe reformulate or
Mhm.
feel intuitively what I need.
Mhm. Are you keeping lots
But
of notes on it? Kind of.
I probably should be. I have like
Yep.
brain notes, but I should probably be
Right,
writing
right,
stuff.
right. This one made me feel this way at this point in time, and da, 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 yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right, right. You could have a
um,
book. I mean, someday you're gonna write a book, I'm assuming. So probably be really helpful and
um, I yeah, right now the formula that I'm taking, I'm actually on my second bottle of it because it's been really
Mhm.
helpful. But it's milky
Yeah.
oats, hawthorn,
Mhm.
damiana, lemon balm,
Mhm.
rose, a little bit of pasque flower, and some pink yarrow flower essence. And I'm really
And how
enjoying it.
what do you so what's your formula as far as is it 1 to 1 to 1 to 1? I mean, what's the yeah.
Hmm. Um,
And then how are you putting that in alcohol and making an extract out of it? Or are you like, how's what's your formula for that? What's your recipe?
yeah. I do a base. The milky oats is the biggest part of
Mhm.
it. I'm trying to think what I did. That might be, so it's in a 60 milliliter
Mhm.
bottle. I might have done like 15
Mhm.
mils for that. And then I think the next one was hawthorn. Um, that was probably also like 10 or 15. And then lemon balm, similar, probably 10-ish.
Mhm.
And then Damiana, um, I don't know, I probably did like 7. Trying to count in my head. I don't know if this is adding up to 60,
Right,
but
right, right.
this is kind of, I kind of do like the nourishing herbs as the base
Okay.
and maybe some of the more aromatic, um, kind of medium, um, potent
Mhm.
herbs in the middle, and then I'll do like the herbs that are the strongest or that have the strongest flavor as, or if I'm taking them for more of a spiritual purpose, I'll do like a smaller amount of those. So like rose and passiflora, pretty small
Mhm.
amount
Mhm.
compared to the rest of it. And then usually when I do flower essences, it's like 2 to 4 drops
I see.
in
I see.
a bottle.
And what's
Yeah.
the flower essences for?
Yeah, sorry. Are you asking about the particular one that I'm using
Oh, no,
or
just like in general.
just in
Right, in
general?
general,
Okay.
you're adding
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I find flower essences. So there's another, I would consider it another form of neurodivergence,
Mhm.
but it's not like officially recognized yet, which is high sensitivity. And
Yeah.
this means that your nervous system is like literally and physically more sensitive.
Yeah.
So it picks up on more things,
Yes.
it picks up on things more
Yes.
intensely. And this can happen with your physical senses, but it can also happen with, like, you can absorb people's emotions really easily,
Yes.
or
Right.
relationship, interpersonal dynamics.
Right.
And I think this is a, a place, and I'm definitely like this. Even with all the masking, people were able to to tell that, at least, even when I was younger. But I think that flower essences can be really, really helpful for highly sensitive people.
I'm going to try this. I think that's
Yeah.
I have not heard that before. I often think about people, or often actually refer to people, and I hope they understand this is a very endearing way for me to refer to people, but I refer to them as misfits because I'm a misfit, and I refer to the
Mhm.
people who have grown up with a certain amount of trauma, or a certain amount of
Mhm.
abuse, or a certain amount of uh, you know, anxiety, like the inducing events that's happened when you're, growing up,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. And how, like, any aberrant behavior by anyone else, we're so sensitive to it. Like, you can just pick it up.
Mhm.
I can spot it across the room,
Yeah.
when somebody is uh, feeling a certain way, or it just, again, you said it right. You're very sensitive to it. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that would, and sometimes it's very helpful. It's good
Mhm.
good to have that sense, but it doesn't always have to be turned on to 10.
Totally. Yeah.
You know,
Well, and
the
this is
lion's not always right behind the tree getting ready to pounce on you, okay? So maybe
right.
just relax a little bit, enjoy yourself. What I'm trying, that's this for this year, 2025, for me, it's the year of enjoying myself. That's I just
Mhm.
enjoy life, for God's sake, you know,
Yeah.
and part of that is for me to be less sensitive. I need to be less sensitive. Not everything is about me. Um,
Mhm.
but for so long, I had to make it about me, because
Mhm.
for safety reasons, right? So to be safe, you had to make it about you. You never knew what that aberrant behavior was going to lead to. But now I'm safe. I mean, I'm generally safe. There's nothing going to happen. I mean, obviously, there can be events that you can't plan for, or whatever. But for the most part, I'm safe, and I don't need to be that sensitive.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this is really interesting for me. So I've never thought about plant essence as a way to, like, dial that sensitivity back, maybe to a 6. We'll go 6. If I can get it to a 6,
Yeah.
wow, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great.
Yeah. I wanna be a little careful with talking about, like, being less sensitive,
Mhm.
because I think that can sometimes bring that similar, like, shame element of, like, "Oh, there's something inherently
But
wrong
there but
with the
but uh,
system is."
but it's exhausting.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I think it's, the flower essences, they're not going to completely alter the way that
Mhm.
you experience the world.
Mhm.
Like, they're not going to, completely, like, just make you a not sensitive
Right.
person. Um, but I do think that they can help kind of offer a little bit of, like, energetic protection or cocooning, or kind of help, um how do I wanna say this? Like,
Take the edge off.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like, work the deeper parts in ourselves that maybe, like, take too much of people's energy on
Yeah.
willingly,
That's
like,
perfect way to
or
say it right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's easy for people who are empathic to feel like it's your obligation
Mhm.
to be support for
Yep.
everybody, and to, like, just kind of be an open net for everything.
Mhm.
And so I do think that in that sense, it can help
Mhm.
kind of take the intensity down to a
6.
6 or
6. We
whatever it
wanted we
is.
want 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Thank you for that. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that. That's
Yeah.
that's so helpful.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what other gems of knowledge do you have that you can share with me and in the world so we can all like, live a better life? Well, back to the blends. So
Mhm.
so so you're making these blends and then are you using an extraction process? Are you using them as a tea? I mean, what's the actual way to imbibe the botanicals?
Yeah, so I'm very lucky because I work at a herbal
Mhm.
apothecary, and so I have just
You
like
and
a
I
huge
both.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually source a huge portion of our herbs from Mountain Rose.
Aw, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Um, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You are absolutely well, I guess on your end, maybe you're not. I don't know. But
Maybe I'll double check and
we're
then
fine.
let
And if you need to if we're okay with you saying it. So
Um, but yeah, we love Mountain Rose at,
good.
the apothecary,
Good.
but all that to say is, we have some amazing product makers and, tincture makers who, like, I can just go into work and there's already all of these herbs that have already been made into tincture,
Sure.
and so I just get
Sure.
to, you know, put it together.
Yeah.
Um, but let's see, I have, like in herb school and stuff, I was making a lot of
Mm.
tinctures and I do like to make teas
Mhm.
sometimes. I really like making syrups. Um, that's probably the thing that I enjoy like at home
Uh-huh.
kind of making the most. Um, but yeah, I think with, you know, you can get really technical with tincture making. But the way that I kind of do it, at least at home, we do it much more technically in the store,
Mhm.
or the people who make the tinctures do it much more technically. But the way that I usually do it is I just like pour alcohol over some herbs and then I let it
Yeah.
sit and I'll like shake it
Yeah.
every couple of
Yeah,
days or
exactly.
whatever.
Right.
But it's really, it's very
It's
simple.
very,
To make
very simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone
Mhm.
needs to be really scared of making a tincture. You're not
Mhm.
gonna go wrong.
Totally.
It's pretty easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, actually, this is talking about like making concoctions and kind of how to take the herbs. When you asked on other things that I'd like to share, I do want to talk about maybe some tips on how to approach herbalism
Mhm.
as a neurodivergent
Oh,
person and
please do.
how
That's so wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I don't know how to say this. I feel like sometimes maybe people have this idea that like teas are that's like the highest form of how to take your herbs. I don't know if I'm making that up
Mhm.
or if there are people who feel that
Well, I
way.
think it's an ancient form, right?
Mhm.
Tea you think of
Yeah.
tea as being a very ancient practice. So, I could
Mhm.
see why it would reach that sort of status, um, in
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, and tea is wonderful. I think for a lot of people, it's, in itself, the act of making tea can be really nice for the nervous
Mhm.
system and drinking something hot and comforting. And I also think that as a neurodivergent person, it's good to know your
Mhm.
options
Mhm.
for, I have a much easier time with like no prep remedies like tinctures or flower
Mhm.
essences or oxymels or, you know, that sort of thing because, you don't have to I like dishes are something that's hard for me to get done.
Mhm.
And so I always get um it's really hard for me to like make the tea and then like clean out the strainer and like do the whole process of tea making every day.
Mhm.
I'll do it, occasionally and that works for me, but for like daily things that I take every day, I prefer
Mm.
no prep
Mhm.
method tinctures. So I think that that can be really nice. But again, I think it's also important to, find what works for you.
Mhm.
Like if making tea is something that you're really motivated to do, that brings you a lot of joy, that brings you a lot of comfort, then, I think just knowing your options and going with what works for
Well,
you.
you brought up a good point because I think I was having a conversation recently with somebody who was ADHD, and they were talking about the fact that it takes dopamine to do something, right? You need a certain amount of
Mhm.
dopamine to move.
Yes. Yes.
And if your body doesn't just naturally produce it, or it has a lack of it, or whatever is going on,
Mhm.
um, which I believe it could be the case with ADHD,
Mhm.
that you don't have that to move. So
Correct.
the
Yeah.
dishes can be in front of you, and you can say, I really got to do these dishes.
Mhm.
Your body literally doesn't have the dopamine to get up and walk over and do these dishes. And so you need
Right.
something that adds
Mhm.
that, so that I think that's
Mhm.
what you're like kind of speaking to with the doing the dishes or the tea or that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
it's figuring out ways to make sure that you are doing the things that will
Mhm.
be helpful for you. They also refer
Yeah.
to themselves as their future. Oh, I need to do a favor for my future self.
Mm,
And
mhm.
that helps a lot as well. Because doing a favor for
Yeah.
someone, that that's easy for somebody, or for most
Mhm.
people. It's a lot easier than
Mhm.
doing this for yourself. But if you think about yourself as a future, oh, well, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a
Mm.
favor for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That that's funny you say that because I feel like if I'm, like, over at someone else's house, it's a lot easier for me to
Mhm.
do
Mhm.
dishes, like, after dinner or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah,
than it is at
exactly,
the house.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 So preparing that tea and knowing that, do you put it together like, a lot and then have it in your fridge and then just or is that kind of a
Yeah.
yeah,
You could totally do that. Keep tea will keep for a day or 2 in the fridge,
right.
so you can just make a big batch.
Mhm,
That's a good way to
mhm,
do that as well.
mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I think, let's see. Yeah, a lot of the advice that I have is around finding what works for you
Mhm,
and, following where you feel excited and where that, like, dopamine is.
mhm.
I think too.
It's not at Target, by the way. I just wanna let everybody know. It's not at Target or the stores. I feel like too often that's what happens where, like, we're chasing dopamine. It took me a long time to realize that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do get a little bit of a hit of dopamine by going and buying something that you don't need, but it doesn't last very long, so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, go with what's exciting to you
yeah.
in the realm of
Right,
herbalism,
right.
and,
A
um
hike will get you a lot more dopamine, by the way, than, you know
Yeah. Um, let's see. Oh, yeah, know that perfection isn't the goal. It's more about doing what you can
Mhm.
and what's helpful for
Mhm.
you without completely overwhelming yourself
That's a really
and
good
stressing.
point. Perfection is
Yeah.
not the goal. That
Mm-mm.
needs to be a shirt.
No.
You need to
Yeah.
It's really great. Yeah, because and again, I think
Yeah.
you're talking about society and the society that we built where perfection is a goal too often.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to be perfect. It wants to have the perfect house and the perfect car and the perfect family and the perfect whatever.
Mhm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Perfection doesn't exist. It's not, it doesn't,
No.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I I have seen this a lot within the herbal community where there's I think I think a lot of anxiety maybe around this and a lot of um feeling of like, oh, I have to be everything in my life has to be completely toxin free and completely natural and completely like it has to be perfect all across
Mhm,
the board.
mhm.
And I think that that can, not for everybody maybe, but I think that that can cause more stress than it's worth
Yeah.
to make that the goal.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's okay to have a potato chip now and again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, is life without potato chips really living? Let's be honest. It's I
Right?
don't I
Why else?
yeah.
Why else do we come to Earth?
My wife always says, and I love it. She always says, "Well, we make cake, so we should eat cake," you know?
Yeah.
Like humans evolved and and we learned and we came up with this process to make cake. Who are we to deny all of that work that went
Mhm.
into that to make a
Yeah.
cake? So,
Yeah, I love
but I
that.
really think that's a fantastic point going back to the whole perfection thing. Yeah, life isn't yeah,
Mhm.
you chasing perfection is just doesn't it's stupid. Don't do it. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, kind of to that point too, I think like I'm definitely a proponent or a I don't know if that's the right word. And I encourage finding what works best for
Mhm.
people. So I think a lot of times that ends up being like a mix of Western medicine and pharmaceuticals and
Sure.
herbs.
Absolutely.
And I think in this case, like the goal doesn't have to be to completely support yourself with only herbs or only natural remedies. But I think a lot of it was cool when I was doing research for this class that I did.
Mhm.
Um, there are a lot of, we have an herb drug interaction checker
Mhm.
database at work. And um, most of the herbs, I checked them with some pretty common drugs for ADHD and
Mhm.
autism. And most of the herbs that I had in my class and most of the drugs that I looked up didn't interact with each other,
Mm.
which is
Yeah.
awesome. So you can take them
Right. Yeah.
concurrently. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. But again,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about this, you should seek medical advice, I think, right? Or, a
Hmm.
practitioner, an herbal practitioner or something, just to make
Yeah.
sure. We definitely do not recommend just going at it, just guessing. Guessing doesn't work.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think it's, as much support as you can have around all these things,
Sure.
better.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then one more. Oh, actually, two more
Okay. Two
points.
more.
Is
Love
that
it.
okay?
Love it. Please.
The first one is to go at your own pace.
Hmm.
Um, herbs are one of the wonderful things about herbs is they're so much sensory stimuli, and it's such a sensory
Hmm.
experience to engage with herbalism. But if you have sensory issues, it's okay to go really slow or to adjust
Mm. Yeah.
things to not, give you like sensory problems every time you take a herb or whatever.
Sure. Sure.
Like it's okay to factor in things like taste or texture
Hmm.
or smell or whatever. Um and then the last thing was just to know that if you're neurodivergent and interested in herbalism, you're in really good company. I feel
Mm.
like herbalism attracts neurodivergent people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're all a little
Well,
strange here.
I've said that, and going back to the misfits thing, I
Mhm.
always said that herbalism attracts misfits. It truly does. I
Yeah.
think that people are seeking out um, a place where they can fit in, and herbalists they're just the most giving and most wonderful people in the sense of that they're going to want the belonging there is just tremendous, right? You just like
Mhm. Mhm.
like you come into herbalism and people are all going to want you to like they're going to hug you and pull you in and just be like, no, be a part of this and we're going to help you, and they're going to share everything that they know. It's just amazing. It really really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Definitely.
Wow. Well, thank you. This was fantastic.
Good. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah. You are absolutely incredible. And
thank you.
I love that you are I feel like you're an up and coming star in herbalism, and it's like that's just I can't wait to see what you do. I can't
Thank you
wait to
so
see
much.
what um books you write or teachings that you do, all of that. It's just, it's so exciting. And I love interviewing people that are, especially because I do a lot of interviews, obviously, and a lot of people, the established
Hmm.
herbalists, and those are fantastic and really great
Yeah.
conversations. But also
Hmm.
being able to have conversations with the up and coming stars, and who have sort
Hmm.
of this new take on herbalism or a new approach to herbalism or seeing things from a different way. It's so helpful and so amazing.
Wow. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for saying
yeah.
those things.
Well, it's deserved. It's absolutely deserved, and the work that you're doing is fantastic. I really really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So, we will link to anything that you would like linked to.
Mhm.
Do you have a website and
Yeah. Yeah, I have a website. It's mostly, so I'm also a tarot reader,
mhm.
and my website is focused
Do
on
you ever
that.
do online tarot readings?
I do. I love doing remote
I
online
have
tarot reading.
never had a tarot reading. I've
Really
never had one.
surprises me.
Nope. Not a single time in my life. What
Wow.
is there a
Yeah,
chance? Is there
I would love
Can
to
we
give
do
you
it
a
right
tarot.
now?
Sure. Do you wanna do just like a single card pull
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something?
Well, yeah.
Or a
Yeah. Whatever
full
you
card?
recommend. I want to do this. This is I'm so
Yeah.
excited right now. I've never had this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on,
Okay.
let me
Okay. This is great.
grab my card.
I feel I feel a little nervous. Should I be nervous?
That's no,
You're not gonna
but that's normal. People get nervous about tarot.
you're not gonna tell me that like this is it. This is it. You're gonna, gonna get hit by a car today. So
I have never predicted anybody's
okay,
death
good.
before.
Okay, good. All right, then I'm okay. I'm okay. Hopefully you predicted I don't know. I was gonna say get rich, but man, I don't even know if that's truly what I want. Just be happy. Hopefully that's what you predict.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Um, ooh, this is so fun. I'm always so honored to be people's first tarot experience.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. Okay. Do I
Okay.
need to do anything? Do I need to set a certain
Uh,
way or clear my thoughts or
yeah, I'll take you
okay.
through a
Okay.
little
Perfect.
a
Okay.
centering. But before we begin, if there is something specific that you want a reading on, you can either say that out loud or you can think about it in your
Okay.
mind. But you also don't have to have something specific. You can, um,
Yeah,
we can just see what comes
yeah,
through.
I just want to see what comes through. I think that's what I want.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. All right, so while I shuffle the cards, if you just want to take a moment to center, you can take some deep breaths, feel sink into your body, and I call in the divine, the earth, and any of both of our guides, angels, and wise and well ancestors who wish to be present for this reading, if you are open to that.
Okay.
And I set the intention that any messages that come through serve your absolute highest and best, and the highest and best of anyone concerned. Ooh, okay.
Okay.
So I can send you photos of these two, but I pulled the Ten of Wands for you.
Okay.
And I pulled it in reverse. I don't always take reversals, but I think I'm gonna take this one.
Okay.
And so the Ten of Wands is it's the completion of a cycle,
Mhm.
and it's kind of the laying down of a great burden. Like if you look at this
Yeah.
person, they're looking like they're getting tired, and they're carrying these rocks and all these
Absolutely.
wands or sticks.
Yeah.
And they're in this desert, and it's just time to kind of release this burden and
Yeah.
start a new
Yeah.
cycle. And it's funny that you mentioned getting rich
Yeah.
because the suit of, oh gosh, sorry, I was thinking of the 10 of Pentacles. This is the 10 of Wands. But you know what? I was thinking that, so I'm gonna
Okay.
say what I was thinking as well. For some reason, I was thinking this as the 10 of Pentacles, which is the suit of Earth, and things like money, family, career stability, these kind of like rooted physical things. So potentially you could be starting a new cycle of abundance and wealth and stability. But sorry, 10 of Wands. Wands is the element of fire. So when we look at this card, this is like kind of like that fire has burnt someone out, and they're at this point where they need to lay down their burdens and rest and recover and get nourishment. So, I don't know. I feel like that kind of ties into what we're talking about today. It's like
Absolutely.
taking this time, and what you were saying about how you feel like this is, an era of enjoying your life.
It is, and it's also been an era of transition in the sense of that I have been focused a lot on leaving behind the past and the traumas of past and letting go of that. And I think that when you said the holding of the rocks, that really resonated with me, because that's what it feels like. That I've been walking around this whole time carrying these rocks, and I can just let them go. And life is going to be so much lighter and feel so much easier. So I think that's really amazing that you pulled that card. It's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm in the process of doing right now.
Yeah. And the reason that like the suit of Pentacles came to mind, it might be that you're kind of letting go of this time of burnout and strenuousness and passion and intensity for something that's more like, that might be the new cycle that you're entering, is this stable, grounded, nourishing,
Yeah.
just like enjoying the physical
I feel more authentic now
life.
than I ever have. And I think that's part of it as well. I just feel like the work that I'm doing is very authentic.
Yeah.
And it feels for the first time as if I'm not doing it for anyone else but myself, kind of a like that's really what this is this time for me. So that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that you're an amazing podcast host. Like, you're very comfortable to
Oh,
talk
thank
to.
you. Thank you.
Very,
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I will take
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that while I was listening to episodes preparing for this. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I feel I had a lot of nerves leading up to
Yeah.
this, and I was like, oh, but he seems like he's so easy to talk to.
Yeah,
So
it's I take it very serious, but
Mhm.
I don't want there to be any a serious sometimes there is seriousness to it. Obviously, we talk about things that can be hard or um and herbalism is a very serious practice, but I always think of the approach that I want people to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so I appreciate that feedback. That is fantastic.
yeah,
And I so
absolutely.
appreciate my first tarot. Wait, how do you say
Either way,
either way?
either
Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
I've heard both.
Okay, good, because I was corrected this morning, because I called it tarot, and I was corrected, by someone who might be listening in. I think it was Haley. Um, so feel so, but thank you for that. I love it.
Mhm.
It's amazing. So that was such and I was a little nervous about that. So now I feel great. I'm like, oh, that was a very easy experience. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's great. So
Good, I'm
yeah.
glad. Yeah, tarot, out of all the kind of divinatory, uh, I don't know, intuitive practices that people are into in the herbal world, I feel like tarot triggers the most anxiety for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyone out there that's listening who hasn't done it, don't be anxious. It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. And I can't wait to talk again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do this some more.
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
Thank you
All right.
so much.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You too.
Bye-bye.